Good afternoon, welcome to Cloud 9 on ACT on The Voice. I am Sheldon Yearwood and thank you for joining us. I am here with my good friend today, Mr. Hanif Benjamin. He is a clinical therapist and clinical traumatologist, yes, and we're here to talk about the Trauma Conference 2018, understanding the impact of trauma on brain and development in children and adolescents, creating healthy minds. How are you doing, sir?
I am well, I am well. Thank you so much for having me.
Accommodating us at your lovely office, sir.
Thank you so much for taking the journey, huh?
Yeah, I'm always up on this side, so that's fine. I love the title. It's quite a mouthful, and I think it's necessary because there's a lot to discuss. And then I have creating healthy minds, and I'm just thinking generally, the first thing that came to mind, no pun intended, when I saw that was to create a healthy mind. It is one thing to create a healthy mind, but it's another thing to sustain it.
Correct.
Right? And
correct.
I think that is so important. And how do we sustain healthy minds when for so long we've been lacing or feeding our children with food laced with poison? And I say that without apology. When I say poison, in that it's not necessarily deliberately, but even by our very actions in society today, that's what we're doing.
Right.
How do we, generally, before we get to the conference, how do we sustain these healthy minds?
Well, Sheldon, I think the creating of a healthy mind, to me, is the first thing, because somehow in Trinidad and Tobago, in the world, I don't think that we understand that we have to indeed create this healthy mind. I think we believe that you just be and your mind will develop on its own, but we're not understanding is what we feed the mind will then ultimately represent who we are as a person. And so creating the healthy mind means that we need to understand the unhealthy thing that is going on and removing it, and then pruning this mind to grow up to be a positive, healthy mind. And I think that is important, and that is why we came up with the theme, because it's really about creating healthy minds. Our children are suffering. Our children are on the receiving end of toxicity, international, local, and otherwise.
And that's the thing. I mean, sometimes we look at Trinidad and Tobago and we tend to think that we are in this bubble, but we're not. This is a global problem. However, in zeroing on Trinidad and Tobago, where have we gone wrong in the last 20, 30 years?
I think we are a player internationally. We are a global partner, whether we want to believe it or not. The difference, though, back then you had one television station, two. Now we are in a period where we have real-time everything. The world is at your fingertips real time. You have 24-hour television, all sorts. Back then, things were monitored, things were streamlined to present a type of viewing and or showing. Now, everything. There is no holding back on sex, violence. Everything is just at your fingertips. And so the information age has created this phenomena where our children are constantly bombarded with stimuli and things that we cannot control, unfortunately. We cannot control, and I was just giving the example this morning where, a mother was so excitedly saying, at night I take off the Wi-Fi in my house. But I chuckle because you could put your head outside and pick up 4 other Wi-Fi. You see? So did you...
that is so true.
So when you think that you have curtailed the challenge, you have not.
But we can't throw our hands up in the air, so
correct.
What do we do?
We need to educate. We must become educated. We must understand that, hey, this is a problem that will never go away. As a matter of fact, it is getting faster and smaller and faster. The problem will not go away. The power of the World Wide Web is both good and evil, like most things. How then do we treat with the good And how do we prepare our children to deal with the evil part of it? It means, one, that we need to understand it. A lot of parents buy phones for children they don't even understand. A lot of parents buy devices for children because 8-year-old walking up into a store and say, can I have an iPad, please? We are encouraging a lot of what is happening today. And so we do it without monitoring and evaluating. Is this working? What am I doing? How am I doing it? And so we have a lot of children who are left with the devices of the world. We have television shows that are literally telling you. We have music that is saying us how we should treat women, how we should have sex. That is what our children are exposed to 24 hours a day. So we as parents, teachers, leaders, we must now combat those type of elements with other types of training and development. And right now, we are not doing a real good job at it.
Now, your organization, of which of course you are the CEO, the Center for Human Development, of course, who's hosting this conference, we've had these conversations before.
Correct.
And I would give credit where credit is due that you have tried various avenues and mediums to address this issue of trauma in adolescents, but you can't do it alone.
Correct.
And what I find is that I'm not seeing that cohesiveness that I think we should have as a country. Do you now? I just mentioned earlier on, we can't throw hands up in the air. But do you think that even those who, within their heart, listen, I really want to do this, do you think there are many people who have just given up?
You're making some powerful points, Sheldon. Powerful points. When I came back to Trinidad, having practiced in the United States, I came from a system where collaboration was the order of the day. We had case conferencing and multiple agencies coming together. That is what I know. And so when I came back to Trinidad to practice as a social worker, as a clinician, as a traumatologist, I found that we operate in silos where people with great intention, great skills even,
Definitely.
operating, however, they're operating in their own world. And in your own world, unfortunately, you don't have enough money, expertise, human resources. And so in your own world, it seems as if you're not doing what you need to do. And what I've been trying to show Trinidad and Tobago for a long time, if we were to pool our resources together, pool our expertise together, pool our finances together, we will be able to change the tapestry of mental health in Trinidad and Tobago. The very first conference I held in Trinidad, coming back, recognizing that, was breaking the stigma of mental health. And on that stage, I had every sector of society for that conference looking at mental illness. For the first time, the religious sector was talking to the psychiatric sector. Because we had problems where pastors and priests are counselors, but they didn't understand that there was a point where there's nothing more you can do but to pass them on to a professional. So you were holding on to clients rather than passing them on to professionals.
And that's interesting. I mean, just recently, our very own pastor was making that point, that everybody on this earth has a mountain that they are to conquer and they are to work. And the pastor can't do everything.
Correct.
There are those who are trained counselors, trained pediatricians, trained this and that and the other. And if we, just to take it to this point, if we understand how a body works, if we're going from, let's say, a religious perspective, how the body works, each joint supplements each other.
Correct.
But they have a different function, but they cannot function by themselves.
Correct.
And we mentioned the body of Christ is disjointed because people are not in their particular function. Same thing you're saying. We have to understand that the church can't do it alone, the government can't do it alone, the school system can't do it alone. And this is why even in what you do and the many NGOs, you can't do it alone.
Correct. And so as a doctor, you would look at mental health from a medical perspective, as a social worker from a social worker's perspective, as a business owner from a business owner's perspective, you see? And so everyone was operating in that silo. And so coming together for the whole of a person is still and has remained a challenge in this country. And so a lot of the work that is coming out of the Center for Human Development has been collaborative work. Even for this conference, we are collaborating with international and local partners. But we still have professional egos that is killing the profession. We still have people not understanding their role and their responsibility. We still have people not understanding their role but pointing to everyone else because they think they know everyone else's role. And so we are not sitting at the same table having the same conversation. And that conversation is, how can we make a better Trinidad and Tobago for our children? And Sheldon, one of my main focus at the center has been, how can I reach across the aisles to everyone and say, hey, if we can save this generation, the generation before is already struggling to hold on, we're going to have 30 years of serious trauma in this country. And I'm not sure if people not seeing what 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Just think about where our Form 1 student will be in Form 5, where our Form 5 student will be in 5 years, where our tertiary education student will be 5 years from now. It's frightening. It is frightening. And so on the basis of all of that, we need to look at what this trauma, what mental health is doing to the whole of Trinidad and Tobago.
I remember Dr. Fuad Khan, when he was Minister of Health, he made a very interesting statement, and it's a very true statement, and I'm paraphrasing, right, where he said that the person that's suffering with mental health is not the man or the woman on the street. He said, you could be going through a simple bout of depression, and that's mental health.
So Sheldon, let me tell
it's
you,
a very serious
there's
issue.
a continuum of good health, good mental health, ill health. What we see in Trinidad, and we take it as mental health, is the madman, in quotation, on the street.
Right.
And I say to people, that is but the end result. We operate on a continuum. We have people, and the World Health Organization has said that 4 out of 5 persons will experience depression at some point. Some people have prolonged depression, short depression, situational depression. You going through a difficulty on work, you might, so stressors, all of those things come back. So what we look at mental health is the madman on the street. But we don't understand that it happens and starts from good health. And so we have a system that seemingly cannot help this person who might be going through. We have a system that cannot help the supporters, the parents, the family. That is how they end up on the street. They cannot manage and or understand the mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar, schizophrenia, all of those things. They can't understand it. The behaviors are so bizarre that, what is easier to just let them go. And then you go on the street and then you become self-medicated with drugs because you need to help with the mental illness, so you take drugs. You see, a lot of people think that our brothers and sisters are on the street because of drugs. That is not the case. Mental illness is what drives you on the street, and drugs is as a result of. You see? And so we have the St. Anne's. I've been recommending that we decentralize this mental health service all through. I mean, we still need a St. Anne's, but we need to get mental health trauma treatment in communities, in community centers. I mean, I'm a lecturer as well. The amount of social workers we push out every year in all of the institutions is enough to put a social worker in community centers, in churches, in schools. Come on.
As you mentioned St. Anne's, just as a side note, Dr. Dial Singh, we had a conversation, Rama Dial Singh, and he mentioned some of the challenges in even treating patients at St. Anne's. Do you think we also need to reassess how we deal with mental health patients in terms of their recovery? Because sometimes it comes across more of a prison.
We need to reassess how we treat with mental illness on a whole, from the top down, from taboo cultural nuances. We need to understand mental health. We need to understand what it is. A lot of people think the way to treat mental health is to open a blind. Go and take a shower, go and take a walk, go and take a run, man, you'll feel good. That is how people equate mental health, as if it's something that you need to shake off. People don't understand it's a disease of the mind. But because you're not seeing a cast or stitches, you're less empathetic to a person who will be living. So somebody's dealing with addiction. You thinking they had none, they just want to gamble or they want to drink. But it is a disease, just like diabetes and heart and all these things that need treatment, right? And need treatment over time. And so the way we treat with mental illness must now be examined. How we treat with people, how we treat with children. Too many of our children are left undiagnosed, dealing with multiple mental health issues in our schools. And it comes across as they harden, they're miserable, or they're slow. Yeah. If you know, I can't judge the slow.
I think that slow myth, I remember when I had first started interviewing Miss Teresina Sunarain from the Autistic Society. She had mentioned to me with almost tears in her eyes years ago that many children would have fallen through the system who were autistic because they were labeled as slow and they don't see and they had not knowing that
put you to the back of the class.
You know, and that's just one of the many. So again, it goes back, how do we now equip our schools?
Education again. Education. And, you know, Sheldon.
Do we have the will? Do we really have the will?
We must. There are people out there with the will, but the will is so confined to their own corner. So their will, like, I keep making the point. I could come right in this office every day and I could see 5 clients a day, Sheldon. And I could be very well happy with that. But I recognize that there is a deeper need for Trinidad and Tobago. And so I could then train 1,000 persons that could then now have insight as to what is this trauma, what it looks like. As for a teacher, I said to a teacher, I don't want you to be a psychologist. I want you to be a teacher who understands mental illness. I want you to be a pediatrician who understands trauma. I want you to be a priest, a pastor who understands mental illness. You see, if you understand it, then you can treat me differently. If you understand it, then you can recognize the signs, the symptoms, and then pass that person on to a professional who will be able to help that person. But if you don't know, then you will treat whatever emotion or behavior you are seeing as something else. Sheldon, we punish children for things they have no control over. We punish adults for things they don't even know that is going on within them. And the reason for that is because we lack the education in relation to mental illness and trauma. We don't know what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like.
Trauma has a face. Or faces. What is that? What does that face, or what do these faces look like, generally speaking?
Troubled. Trauma has a behavioral face, an emotional face. Trauma has a silent face and a loud face. Trauma can manifest in so many ways, where a person could sit in their office every day traumatized, and then all of a sudden you hear they kill themselves. And everybody's, well, I didn't know. Trauma could be a student who is so loud and aggressive, but we calling them bad behaved, miserable, not knowing they're reaching out to us every Monday morning. I remember I intervened in a case in a school where I was there for a meeting on a Monday, and I heard the corporal, they called the corporal to lock up the child. And the corporal was saying, you know, every Monday morning I have to come and deal with this child and deal with this. And you know, I fast. So I said, Copy, what's going on here? He said, boy, this man. And so I spoke to the child in 5 minutes. He goes by his father and his stepmother on Friday. The stepmother beat him, kicking him, so he opened his shirt and it was blue and black. Wow. Every Monday morning, Sheldon, he was explaining to us that something was going on. But you see, we want you to pull up on the chair, cross your foot and say, good morning, Mr. Sheldon. I was beaten over the weekend. It don't happen like that. It manifests in terms of emotions and behaviors. And we must stop, look at the end result, and we must begin to ask the question, why?
And when you are emotionally bruised, it's hard to think logically.
Of course.
You know?
You need to say, why is this child behaving this way? Right. We don't wake up in the morning to behave this way. Why is this person behaving? This child then was good reporter all the time. He comes to work on time. He always looking proper. And then all of a sudden, 2 minutes to show you can't find Sheldon. 5 minutes after you can't find Sheldon. Your reporting is now not I need to ask, something is happening here.
Yeah.
It's very easy for me to send you a letter and say, Sheldon, I've noticed that you came late in the last month 4 times, and it's very easy for us to do that. But did we solve the problem? Did we look at you and say, Sheldon was a stellar performer and now he's not? What is going on? Something happened somewhere.
Well, we went on a very short break. When we come back, I want to continue from there and then we'll go to the conference, because
Definitely.
that last statement there begs the question, are we no longer a caring society? And why? When we come back on Cloud 9, stay tuned.
Welcome back to Your Health, Your Choice. So he did some of the first illustrations, the actual drawings.
As you know, I'm a community diabetologist. Diabetes is my specialty.
What needs to be done? How you can take responsibility for your health care.
Yes. The gold standard is still the camera.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Are you all right, boy? All right, well. A lot of vigilantes run you out of San Francisco?
Like to take the cow and calf, you can sell them in Independence. The government drew a new line, and we're on the wrong side, so we have to go.
I can't stand up.
You can't stand up, little buddy. You really can't stand up?
You're standing on my hand.
Red sheet wearing sandcrawler. Let me,
You got me as a friend, you don't really need an enemy.
Thank you.
George, what about my coat?
Oh, it's very nice. Hey, I can use that one.
Hi, I'm Becca Shea, and you're watching ACT and The Voice.
Welcome back to Cloud 9 on ACT and The Voice. We're here with Mr. Hanif Benjamin, the CEO of the Center for Human Development, and they're having a Trauma Conference 2018, Creating Healthy Minds. And just before the break, we were talking about the whole concept of care, and I was asking the question, now, are we no longer a caring society?
We're a selfish, uncaring, harsh society.
That's honest.
I mean, I can't. Sheldon, we no longer look out for our neighbors.
It's true.
When the domestic violence is going on, Sheldon, we no longer go across and say, what's going on here? Let's talk. We close our blinds and we raise the decibels of our music. The screams of children are going unanswered because of reputation to uphold. I mean, that is where we are in the society. We are quick to judge and penalize. We are no longer caring the way we grew up, with the neighbor and the village and all of that.
Now, some will argue and they say, listen, I hear that, but I'm afraid for my life.
And that is the reality as well. That is the reality as well. So then we are then left in a bind.
So who's guarding the guard?
Correct. And so while we are left in this bind, and everybody looking out for oneself, all of Trinidad and Tobago is now failing. And so while we look out for oneself and Trinidad fail, we all fail. So damn it, so to me, you need to make a decision. Am I going to look out for myself and Trinidad fail? Because if Trinidad fail, we all fail. Or do I take a step out, take a chance, and as best as possible, make it work?
I remember when the fear of God meant something.
That's correct. Sheldon, the voice of God and the fear of God, your mother, your father, and that of a police or a priest or some religion. Those were that was sufficient. Now, with so many competing voices, those voices are obsolete. Those voices are obsolete. And one of the points I was making to some of my religious friends, I said, listen, we are in a crisis in Trinidad, and I am still not convinced that the religious sector understands and has taken their role to a different level. Where are the crusades? Where are the crusades? Where are the women who used to come to your home on a Sunday or on a Monday or a Tuesday when problems? Why aren't we doing more? Why aren't we? Earlier you made a point that it is not just the parent or the school, but everybody. I like to look at it like a pie, a nice pie, 12 slices perhaps. We need to understand who makes up the slices, the ingredients, the box. You can't get the pie without the box. I mean, we need to understand where we fit in this pie, and we need to also understand that if I am the box and I am not present, I cannot move with the pizza. You ever go to roll up at a pizza place and get 11 slices as opposed to 12? Unheard of. We need to understand that together we will save Trinidad and Tobago. We need to understand that you understand your role as an individual, to your family, to your community, and to the society.
And sometimes people think, you know, well, what can I do? But drawing back to the pizza reference, if it didn't have salt in it, it wouldn't taste good.
You understand?
So, as this now smaller salt particles, so no matter what role you play or how, quote unquote, how small you think you are,
it is important.
It is important. I think we need to understand that this fear of God that we have lost, it needs to be turned on. You're right about the church. The church in itself, and I always say it, we are very disconnected, and that doesn't work.
Very much so.
That you can't say we're the body of Christ, and it just doesn't work. I think that is part of it, and it calls it working together, working as one. And I hear the arguments all
the support system, the church. You know, right now, we all need to understand that Trinidad and Tobago, we are going through a crisis, financial and otherwise. And so we must re-examine our role. I mean, all of us, we are hit hard by the economic downturn. But the question is, do we give up?
Right.
Should we give up? Can we afford to give up?
Well, I was watching something yesterday on, we have this, it's an iPad whereby, and of course, just a reminder, you can send us your text about what we're talking about here at 360-0105, 360-0105. Maybe you're going through some traumatic experience and you might need some sort of help. This is definitely one of the gentlemen to call his organization. And we were going through the text daily, and for the last week and a half, all the texts that we have been receiving are people calling for prayer, for help. They're not calling about the show itself, you know. They are calling for prayer. They want assistance in this. So then we were saying, you know, people are hurting. They don't care about the political drama. They just hurting.
Sheldon,
they don't care about what's happening. They're just hurting in their own.
You are making, I mean, my paw is raising because the point you are making is so relevant. People are hurting out here. Yeah. People are lost and confused. People are searching. And that is why I make the point of the church and the different arms getting. Everybody looking to the government. People need to understand that we all makes up that of Trinidad and Tobago. People are hurting, and hurting people hurt people, Sheldon. Hurting people hurt children. So now a mother who is struggling and hurting wants to discipline a child genuinely. But because of the frustration, that discipline may now turn into child abuse. Right. You see? People are losing their jobs. People are asking to give up more. People are hurting. And so we need to understand that. Just like you, I am getting messages day and night with people just calling and crying out for help. Yeah. I mean, we at the center, we are doing so much. I mean, this is a paid service. But because last year we dealt with so many pro bono cases that we decided to open an NGO arm to raise funds so that we can still help, because one of our pillars here is that everyone who comes to our door must get help. I can't tell you who traumatized that, well, you don't have no money, you can't come, but then I can't go to the grocer and tell the grocer, hey, I did 4 pro bono cases this month, if you could give me a blight. You see? And so, but even corporate Trinidad, even, we wrote so many letters asking for help. I mean, it is not forthcoming. It is not forthcoming. PowerGen is the only person who donated towards the cause to help people who need treatment. But people, sports, and, and I have no problem with that. But it speaks to the wider understanding of the problem and the prevalence of mental health, how people view it, how people see it. And if it is not personally affecting you, people don't look upon it. People don't look upon it. And that is why, Sheldon, at the center here, regardless of what difficulties may be facing us, we are going full steam ahead. I mean, look at the numbers for this conference, even in years gone by. We are hundreds and something. We are struggling to even make a fraction of that. I'm telling you, the economic and all of these things. But at the end of the day, we have a duty to Trinidad and Tobago.
Agreed.
We have a duty. And as long as I have life and breath and the power of God with me, we will continue to track forward. We will continue to push forward day in and day out. And I believe that the good Lord will provide. He will ensure that this conference and training comes off well. And I have no doubt. And we will keep moving.
And I think, going back to the whole, we're living in our own bubble, in our own corner, I think if all the various entities and individuals were to do their part, from the protective services to the schools, the churches, the hospitals, whatever they may be, then you will find out people will have a reason to speak. They would say, speak life and death, probably tongue. We need to start speaking life. Where people need to feel alive again, and that's the problem. People feel at a walking place and you smell death because of just.
Very interesting was a conversation we had in a school in South where we asked the students where they saw themselves in 5 years, and 95% of the students saw themselves dead.
And this is from what form?
From 1 to Form 5, dead.
But did they give, what kind of reasons they gave?
They're talking about murder, violence. That is what they see. That is their reality. They say they live it every day. Yeah. When we did work in Laventille, because we're doing work with Success Laventille and stuff, I mean, people are saying to us, I remember one case said, because HIV figures might have been high, they said, HIV, nobody taking that on. They said we will be dead by age 25 either way, so why worry? So when you have young people speaking death, you can tell where we are as a society.
Let's take a look now, a closer look, I should say, at the Trauma Conference 2018. Strategic at this time?
Very much so.
Why is that?
Very much so. It is needed. It is timely. We had a couple choices of conference for this year, but we decided to go with the trauma because of where Trinidad is right now. And I think we are already going downhill. We are a very traumatized society. And so having this conference and bringing in the expert as well as sitting with our local expert will help again in our thrust to educate John public.
Tell us about, I'm seeing your guest speaker here. What's his name?
Dr. Adam Brown.
Tell us a little bit about
Dr. Adam Brown is a psychiatrist, clinical, from NYU, New York University, the study center where a lot of research happens in terms of brain trauma in children. And so they are also the author of this book, Trauma System for Teens and Children. And this is a book I used when I was studying at my master's in the United States. And so Dr. Glenn Sack, Dr. Ellis, and Dr. Adam Brown. And so Dr. Adam Brown is coming. And so you can imagine the excitement. We're getting the man who actually wrote the manual that we use. And so it is important for us, as with all our conferences, because we have partnered with Howard University, with Cornell University, and we brought them down, because we believe in knowledge transference. Knowledge transference. When I did my studies back then to what's happening now, it is so different. Trauma is a whole new world. And so it is always important for us to be on top of our game. And so Dr. Brown is an expert in his field. And so he will be coming to deliver the feature on the Monday to conference and to deliver the specialized training on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
You mentioned when you started, and I want to get a little personal here if you don't mind. What initially ignited that fire in you that, listen, I want to do this. I want to study this field of clinical psychology with children and so forth.
What was clinical social work?
Social work. What about, let's say, social work? What about social work back then when you started you really loved? And also, did you mentally see, were you prepared for what you're going through now, or some of it will have come like a lightning bolt, like, okay, God, I really didn't prepare for all of this.
So this is very interesting. I hope we have about an hour. We have about an hour.
About 20 minutes, okay.
So I started to study law in Trinidad here.
Okay.
I grew up quite poor, very humble in my view, but by the world standards, poor. Mother did, beyond the rock, right, for my sister, my brother, and I as we grew. And I started law, and it was very expensive, so I had to drop out. And then I went into Costa to do criminal justice. And it is there Dr. Hoyt, who was the dean at the time, encouraged me, and then I got a scholarship to Monroe College in New York.
Nice.
And so I went to Monroe College to do criminal justice. And then the lecturers and the teachers were so amazing that I saw what I've been doing all my life, Sheldon. I've been doing social work for a long time, and I just didn't know what it was. In church, I started youth group. People used to come to me for counseling, for problems, and then I saw it. So then I did the criminal justice with human service. And then from then on, I went on to study at Fordham University with my clinical master's in social work. And then I got fascinated with the clinical aspect, so I specialized in children and family clinical, and then trauma. And the reason why trauma is because working out of Harlem, the Bronx, Brooklyn, there was a pervasiveness that was happening with the clients, and I couldn't understand that they're coming for therapy all these years and nothing is happening. And I said something deeper has to be examined. And it is when I was introduced to trauma, I recognized that the real problem here is not the surface, but what happened as a child, the deep pain. And once we are able to address the deep pain, children just stop coming to therapy. It just starts moving like that. And that is when I recognized that is my passion. And so I continued after my master's. I did a lot of work at NYU, Hunter College with trauma. And then I came back to Trinidad. I continued. I became a member of the American Expert in Traumatic Stress, as well as I did a year of trauma and to become a traumatologist from the Canadian Institute of Trauma. And then I'm now currently a PhD candidate at the University of the West Indies looking at trauma.
And you are still a very young man.
I am indeed. So I tell people I'm 25 forever. I am 25 forever.
I'm listening to the list and I'm like, this man cross 50. Good. I can't guess my age. Very young man.
Very young indeed. And so that is where the passion came from. But Sheldon, when I grew up, I had a conversation with God. And I remember I said to God, if you would allow me to go to school, I will forever go to school and I will ever serve you, you see? And I've always wanted and have been helping people. That has always been a nature of mine. Even if I had $1 and you needed 50 cents or the dollar, you would get it. That has always been my mantra, because the Lord will provide. What has happened to me and is happening is what I call Peter walking on water miracle. That is my life. I never, ever thought myself owning a business, thought myself going to America. There was no interest. I said, God, if this is what you want, you lead me, I follow. And this is where he led me to America. I created dynamic things there. I came back home. I said, Lord, wherever you want to use me, I'm going to go. You see? And I always make a joke with my dear friend and spiritual advisor, Father Martin Sergio. I remember back then, I wanted to be a priest. And so I went to the Mount, we started the process, and then I came back out. And then today we joke and he said, well, I'm the man with the cloth in the church and you're the man in the suit outside. But we still priests, you see? Because that is the way God intended. Of course. Servitude, that is what I am about.
So this conference, and again, it is really amazing, and I really want to encourage as much people to come out as possible. It's on Monday, 13th August 2018, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And location is where exactly?
It's going to be at Mount Hope Hospital, NCRHA, the rooftop. That's the conference center, so it's going to be there.
And the cost is $500.
And we're offering 20% discount as of today.
Early bird special as of today, so take advantage of it. The contact information is 235-5181. That's 235-5181. 317-3471. 374-9996. Well, there's an email as well.
Correct.
That's tchdevents@gmail.com.
The website www.livelifewelltt.org. All the information for the conference and the training is there. www.livelifewelltt.org.
Was there anything, and this is just to tie into our last conversation there, as you went through and you studied, because clearly your journey came through life experiences, all the decisions you made.
Correct.
Was there any point whereby when you came to Trinidad and you started to, as they say, deal with issues here locally, did anything surprise you with what you were seeing in this country? Was it like, this is not Trinidad, this is not my beloved country? Was it surprising?
That is a surprise.
Okay.
That is surprise. What I left and what I came back to, that was a surprise. But having worked in America, and the last job I had was the B2H, or Bridges to Health, where I work with what we call the baddest of the juvenile delinquents. I would go upstate into the prison. I would be dealing with the bloods
and
the
criminals. Expected that.
Correct. I dealt with severe, but I didn't expect Trinidad and Tobago. That was the surprise to me. And that gave me the strength to even go further, because part of me also is that I need the freedom to develop, to create, and thus born the Center for Human Development. You see, I couldn't be tied to a desk following someone else's policies, because I knew the depths of the challenge that we face and how we need to get out of it. You see, and that is why we have been pushing ever since. I mean, this year we celebrated 6 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you, 6 years. And we continue to push forward even in the difficult times.
And for those, as we kind of wind things down, for those who are looking on and they may be going through some traumatic experience, we will have said a whole lot in this episode. But just in a nutshell, they want to know more about the center in itself and what you all provide. Can you just let our public know?
So we started as a Center for Human Development and we grew. So we are now the Center for Human Development group of companies. So we have the Center for Human Development, which is our psychological and counseling. So you can come for all form of counseling, individual, family, group, trauma, child, all form of assessment, psychological, psychoeducation, psychometric, psychiatric, right? We have TCAG Postgraduate Training Institute, the only school that offers full clinical training just like this, right? We have trained over 5,000 persons since the inception in Trinidad and Tobago and across the region. You see, because we also move throughout the region in training. We have the International Center for Mediation and Mediation Studies, and of course the NGO, the Center for Change. And we're asking people, of course, if you wish to help persons who would like therapy, who cannot afford, please donate, give so that we could continue to do the work for those people. And so we provide all form of counseling. All form of counseling. You just give us a call at 235-5181 extension 0, and we will be happy to come to you. I mean, we do crisis intervention, we go to schools, we go to churches, we do speeches, everything. Yeah?
I want to thank you very much and congratulations to all the different pillars God has placed you. Of course, I know the Children's Authority as well.
Definitely.
As the chairman there, and all the great work you're doing. We'll deal with most of that another time. But again, this is the conference we're dealing with today. And it's open to
all and sundry. Anyone, just come down. We have space available, as I indicated before. So please, just come on down. Bring a friend and come and sit and be educated. And it's a panel, panel. So you're getting an opportunity to be fully involved.
It doesn't matter what area you're involved in. If you're about people, and we always say God is about people. So once you are alive, you're supposed to be about people.
Amen.
So it's $500. A little bit special, 20% off. The numbers once again, 235-5181, 317-3471, and 374-9996. Mr. Benjamin, always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
We will talk
much.
again, and congratulations on all the great work you're doing. I pray we have more men and women with a heart like you. There are those out there, but again, they need that extra encouragement, and I do believe what you said here today, it encouraged me. So I really hope it encouraged many others as well who looked at the program today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
This has been Cloud 9 on ACTN The Voice. I am Sheldon. Remember, you can send your comments at 360-0105. If you would like any more information on the center, you can send me a message and we'll get on to Mr. Benjamin for you. Take care of yourselves and each other, and God bless you.